Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The mind that awakens sees not just the world, it sees the world's machinery, the gears others blindly walk on. Few experiences in life are as quietly devastating as a Sigma male stepping into spiritual awakening. While the average person drifts through life guided by habit and social expectation, the Sigma male begins to pull at the threads of existence itself. Neuroscientists estimate that deep introspection and heightened consciousness can physically rewire the brain, sharpening perception and intuition, turning him into a human lie detector, emotional compass, and occasional chaos magnet, all at once. But this awakening isn't gentle. It doesn't come with warm tea or soft affirmations. It's a collision of clarity and discomfort, humor and horror, solitude and unshakable insight. The people, places, and patterns that once defined him no longer fit. The world suddenly feels like a puzzle whose pieces are constantly moving. And somehow, he finds himself laughing in the middle of the storm because seeing the absurdity behind it all is part of the enlightenment. This is not a transformation. It's a revelation, a reckoning, a reset of existence itself. And once a Sigma male awakens, nothing and no one will ever feel the same again. Number 1, he develops a sixth sense for betrayal. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, his awareness evolves in ways most people can't even touch. One of the most striking shifts is his ability to sense betrayal before it even occurs. This isn't paranoia or overthinking. It's a form of perception that comes from seeing patterns, reading subtle energy shifts, and understanding human behavior on a deeply instinctual level. He notices the almost imperceptible inconsistencies in tone, body language, and behavior that most people would overlook entirely. A flinch in someone's voice, a hesitation in their words, the slightest misalignment between what they say and how they act, it all becomes obvious to him. What's fascinating is that this sixth sense doesn't just apply to strangers or enemies. It can catch lies and hidden agendas in people he thought he trusted most. Family, friends, lovers, no one is exempt. He becomes hyper-aware of emotional manipulations, secret motives, and undercurrents of deception. This isn't about controlling others, it's about survival, clarity, and maintaining his own energy. Once he senses betrayal brewing, he instinctively distances himself or neutralizes the situation with quiet precision, often before the other person even realizes what they were attempting. This awareness transforms how he interacts with the world. He stops taking people at face value, and conversations are no longer just words. They are signals, coded messages revealing intent. It makes him intimidating, because others feel exposed without knowing why. Trust becomes selective, and loyalty becomes sacred. The awakening has gifted him a radar that cuts through social facades, making deception almost impossible to hide. Yet it isn't just a defensive mechanism, it's empowering. He operates with a rare clarity that allows him to navigate relationships, business, and social dynamics with surgical precision. He's no longer blindsided, no longer manipulated, and in that there's a quiet, formidable power. The ability to act with foresight while others stumble blindly. In a world full of hidden agendas, a spiritually awakened Sigma male doesn't just survive. He moves through life as if he already knows the game, the players, and exactly when someone is about to cheat. Number 2, he becomes a catalyst for transformation in others. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, he stops blending in with the world's unconscious patterns and starts radiating a kind of raw awareness that others can't ignore. His presence alone becomes a mirror, one that reflects people's truth back at them, whether they're ready for it or not. He doesn't have to preach or persuade. His energy does the work. When he enters a room, the atmosphere shifts subtly. Those living in denial begin to feel uneasy, not because he judges them, but because his quiet authenticity exposes their pretenses. It's as if the universe uses him as a catalyst to shake stagnant souls out of their illusions. People either evolve around him or disappear. Some feel inspired and start questioning their choices, behaviors, and beliefs. Others feel threatened and retreat, unable to handle the uncomfortable clarity he brings. It's not that he tries to change anyone. He's too detached from ego for that. But truth, once embodied, becomes contagious. Those who cross paths with him find it increasingly difficult to lie to themselves. The mask starts to crack. The excuses stop working. They begin to confront the parts of themselves they've been running from. This effect is both a blessing and a burden. He becomes the silent disruptor in others' lives, forcing growth they didn't ask for. It's lonely work, because very few can withstand the intensity of that reflection. Yet those who do evolve in his orbit often thank him later, realizing he was never their threat. He was their wake-up call. The Sigma male's spiritual awakening, therefore, isn't just about his personal evolution. It's about the ripple effect his transformation creates in the collective. Without trying, he becomes the spark that ignites dormant potential in others. And while he may walk alone, the echoes of his awakening continue to awaken others long after he's gone, proof that real transformation never announces itself. It simply radiates, and the world either adapts or turns away. Number 3, he no longer believes in comfort zones. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, comfort loses its appeal. The same spaces, routines, and habits that once offered safety start to feel like cages. His awakening opens his eyes to the quiet poison of stagnation, the realization that comfort zones don't protect you. They slowly erase you. He stops craving ease because he finally sees what it costs: potential, power, and authenticity. Growth to him becomes the only real form of peace, and anything that doesn't challenge him starts to feel meaningless. Every discomfort becomes a tool, a signal that he's on the edge of something real. Pain, rejection, uncertainty. He starts welcoming them not as enemies, but as teachers. While most people chase comfort like it's success, the awakened Sigma walks straight into discomfort because he knows that's where his next evolution hides. He doesn't need validation or applause. He needs friction. That friction sharpens his instincts, clears his emotional clutter, and expands his awareness far beyond the ordinary. He also stops conforming to the world's script. Society tells people to aim for security, stability, and predictability, but he's outgrown that illusion. He understands that real freedom only exists when nothing owns you, not comfort, not status, not fear. That's why he keeps breaking his own limits, shedding versions of himself that no longer serve his purpose. To the outside world, it can look like he's restless, impossible to please, or even self-destructive. But in truth, he's simply allergic to stagnation. He's not chasing chaos, he's chasing transformation. Each challenge is a mirror reflecting how much more of himself there is to uncover. His comfort zone no longer defines where he belongs, it defines what he must outgrow. And once a Sigma male reaches that level of awareness, he doesn't just live differently, he evolves endlessly, refusing to be anything less than what he's capable of becoming. Number 4, time alone becomes a laboratory for self-mastery. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, solitude transforms from isolation into a sacred workspace. He no longer sees being alone as a void to be filled, but as a powerful arena for experimentation and evolution. Time alone becomes his laboratory, where he tests his thoughts, challenges his instincts, and dissects the inner patterns that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. He doesn't waste solitude scrolling or escaping. He uses it to reprogram himself with surgical precision. He studies his reactions to pain, his triggers, his impulses, and his emotional attachments. Every flaw becomes data. Every weakness becomes a project. While the world numbs itself with distractions, he dives headfirst into the silence most people fear, because that's where truth lives. He learns to sit with discomfort until it breaks open and reveals its lesson. He doesn't seek perfection. He seeks control over himself, and through that control, a deeper freedom than any external success could ever offer. In this private laboratory, he becomes brutally honest about his motives and desires. He identifies which parts of him come from conditioning and which come from his authentic self. This self-analysis is relentless but liberating. He emerges from solitude sharper, calmer, and more unshakable each time, his energy more distilled, his mind more disciplined, his emotions no longer easily hijacked. People who cross paths with him later sense this difference. He carries the quiet intensity of someone who has faced his own chaos and mastered it. He's not trying to impress or dominate anyone. His presence alone speaks of inner order, while others fear being alone because it confronts them with their unhealed parts. The awakened Sigma thrives in it, because solitude is his forge. Every minute spent in his own company adds another layer of awareness, strategy, and peace. For him, isolation is not withdrawal, it's transformation in progress. Number 5, he questions his own reality relentlessly. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, his mind becomes a battlefield of truth and illusion. The process isn't poetic. It's unsettling, disorienting, and brutally honest. He begins to question everything he's ever believed, including the foundations of his identity. Every value, every memory, every opinion he once defended starts to feel suspicious. He dissects his past, not to dwell on it, but to see how much of it was actually his and how much was programmed into him by family, society, and fear. This questioning doesn't stop at philosophy. It invades his entire perception of reality. He begins to notice how humans build comfort out of lies, how people cling to beliefs just to avoid the pain of uncertainty. That realization hits hard. It's both freeing and terrifying, because once he starts seeing through the illusions, there's no going back. It's like pulling a thread that unravels everything he thought was solid. The people he once admired now seem lost in distraction. The systems he once trusted look like stage props, and even his own motives start to appear layered with hidden agendas. He experiences what could best be described as existential vertigo, a dizzying sense that the ground beneath him is no longer real. But instead of running from it, he leans in. That's the Sigma way. He faces the void head-on and keeps asking, what's real beneath all this noise? He stops seeking easy answers and becomes comfortable living in the question itself. Through this relentless interrogation, his mind evolves into something rare, flexible, fearless, and immune to manipulation. He no longer accepts things at face value. He doesn't worship opinions, trends, or even his own conclusions. Every idea must earn its place in his reality, and in that process, he becomes something most people never dare to be, truly awake, truly conscious, and painfully, magnificently real. Number 6, loneliness becomes a choice, not a burden. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, loneliness stops feeling like punishment. It becomes preference. He no longer sees solitude as emptiness, but as clarity. The noise of the world, the endless chatter, performative friendships, and shallow exchanges starts to feel heavy and distracting. While others chase validation and connection to feel alive, he finds more life in silence. Being alone is no longer something that happens to him. It's something he chooses because peace now matters more than company. This shift isn't born from bitterness or arrogance. It comes from awareness. He realizes that most people aren't truly present. They're projecting, pretending, or avoiding themselves. So he steps away, not because he thinks he's better, but because he's allergic to falseness. The awakened Sigma doesn't isolate to escape the world. He retreats to recharge from it. Silence becomes sacred ground where his thoughts untangle, his emotions reset, and his spirit strengthens. He learns that loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness is craving connection that doesn't exist. Solitude is choosing the kind of peace no crowd can offer. He finds power in being self-contained, emotionally independent, and mentally undisturbed. In solitude, his intuition sharpens, his creativity blooms, and his focus deepens. He starts to realize that every great transformation he's undergone has happened in silence, not in the noise of company. People often misinterpret his distance as coldness or pride, but it's neither. He simply values depth over proximity. If a connection doesn't nourish his growth, he'd rather remain in his own space, where energy is clean, thoughts are pure, and his spirit isn't diluted by the chaos of others. For the awakened Sigma male, loneliness stops being a shadow to outrun. It becomes the light he walks in. Because when he's alone, he's not disconnected from the world. He's finally connected to himself. Number 7. His anger shifts into precision. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, his anger undergoes a transformation few people ever witness. It no longer erupts, it refines. The wild, impulsive rage that once burned uncontrollably turns into something razor-sharp and deliberate. His emotions stop controlling him. He starts controlling them. Anger becomes a form of data, a signal pointing him toward what needs to change, what must be dismantled, and what can no longer be tolerated. It's no longer a storm, it's strategy. He sees the world's flaws with unfiltered clarity, the hypocrisy in authority, the corruption in systems, the cowardice in people who preach virtue but act out of fear. But instead of exploding, he channels his fury into precise action. He studies, plans, and moves like a tactician. His anger doesn't scream, it executes. He knows that emotional outbursts waste energy, while focused response rewires the outcome. Every reaction is weighed, measured, and aimed with the accuracy of someone who no longer plays by the rules of impulse. This shift makes him unpredictable and powerful. People can no longer provoke him because he doesn't give them the reaction they expect. His calmness becomes unsettling, his silence more dangerous than shouting. When he finally acts, it's surgical and final, leaving no room for confusion or regret. Those who try to manipulate him often discover too late that his restraint isn't weakness, it's control. Through spiritual awakening, he learns that anger isn't evil, it's a resource. Misused, it destroys. Mastered, it transforms. His awakening refines it into pure focus, stripping away the emotional noise that blinds most people. He doesn't waste energy fighting meaningless battles anymore. He only engages when the cause matters, and when he does, his impact is undeniable. His anger no longer burns him from within. It forges him into someone who acts with terrifying precision, making change not through rage, but through power, disciplined by wisdom. Number 8, materialism becomes repulsive. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, materialism stops making sense. The glitter of status, the thrill of possessions, the applause of others, none of it hits the same. He starts seeing how easily people trade their authenticity for approval, how society sells illusion as success. The brands, the likes, the flexing, it all starts to look like noise designed to distract the masses from their own emptiness. The Sigma male no longer plays that game because he's seen the cost, the quiet erosion of self. Luxury loses its shine because he now values peace more than prestige. He's not impressed by labels, he's impressed by depth. A conversation that expands his mind now feels richer than a designer lifestyle that drains it. He starts simplifying everything, his space, his goals, his connections, not out of minimalism as a trend, but as rebellion against the hollow chase that most people call ambition. His standards don't drop, they evolve. He wants things that feed his soul, not his ego. He becomes almost allergic to superficiality. Parties filled with performative laughter, jobs built on greed, relationships founded on convenience. They all start to feel heavy, false, and suffocating. The awakened Sigma finds more fulfillment in creation than consumption. He'd rather build something meaningful in silence than display something meaningless in public. His detachment from materialism isn't poverty of desire, it's abundance of awareness. And what makes it powerful is that he's unapologetic about it. He doesn't explain his simplicity to anyone, nor does he judge those still trapped in the loop. He just moves differently, quietly, deliberately, freely. While others chase symbols of worth, he is the worth, because his value no longer depends on ownership. To him, the real luxury is self-mastery, the ability to walk through a world obsessed with appearance and remain untouched by its illusions. That's the kind of wealth no one can buy, and that's exactly why he never needs to show it. Number 9, time feels simultaneously infinite and fleeting. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, his perception of time fractures in the most profound way. It no longer moves in a straight line. It stretches and collapses at once. He starts to feel how infinite each moment really is, yet how fleeting it becomes the second he loses awareness. This paradox changes everything about how he lives. He stops rushing for the future or clinging to the past because both suddenly feel irrelevant. The only real thing left is now, and he experiences it with a level of intensity that most people can't handle. Every second feels loaded with meaning. Conversations, decisions, even pauses in silence carry a kind of energetic weight. He becomes acutely aware of how one careless choice can ripple outward for years, and how one conscious action can change everything in an instant. That awareness makes him deliberate with his time, his words, and his energy. He no longer wastes hours on gossip, distractions, or meaningless pursuits, because he sees how fragile and precious time actually is. At the same time, he starts to experience moments that feel endless, like time slows down when he's deeply present or fully aligned with his purpose. In those moments, he touches something timeless within himself, something that exists beyond clocks and calendars. This is what most people miss while chasing deadlines and dopamine hits. The profound stillness hidden inside awareness itself. But that stillness comes with its own burden. The awakened Sigma often feels out of sync with the world's pace. Others live like time is disposable. He knows its currency. He watches people hurry through life as if immortality is guaranteed, and it both saddens and humbles him. So he chooses differently. He moves slower, speaks less, feels deeper. For him, time is no longer something to manage or measure. It's something to honor. And in doing so, he discovers the secret most people never grasp. Life isn't short or long. It's only as real as you are present. Number 10. He hears truths others ignore. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, his perception sharpens to a level that borders on eerie. He doesn't just listen anymore. He hears what others don't say. The pauses between words, the tremor in a voice, the way energy shifts when someone hides their intent. All of it registers with uncomfortable clarity. Lies no longer sound like lies. They feel like static in his frequency. Half-truths become heavy in the air, and flattery tastes like manipulation. It's as if the veil of human performance has been ripped away, leaving him face to face with raw intention. He doesn't need evidence or confrontation. His intuition tells him everything before facts catch up. Someone can say the right words, wear the right smile, and still fail to fool him. He hears what lies beneath the script: fear, envy, deceit, or emptiness. It's not supernatural. It's heightened awareness born from stripping away his own illusions first. Once he stopped lying to himself, the world's lies became deafeningly obvious. This ability makes him both powerful and isolated. Powerful because he can navigate people and systems with surgical precision. Isolated because most can't stand to be that transparent around him. Conversations become layered exercises in self-restraint. He sees through motives so easily that small talk starts to feel like a chore. And when someone tries to manipulate him, his silence becomes their mirror, exposing them without a word. But this gift isn't about judgment. It's about clarity. He's not obsessed with calling people out. He just refuses to participate in illusions anymore. His honesty operates at a frequency that disturbs the comfortable and attracts the genuine. That's why people either open up around him or run from him. His energy demands truth. The awakened Sigma male doesn't chase it. He embodies it. And once truth becomes audible to him, deception stops being a threat. It becomes background noise he simply no longer tunes into. Number 11. His desires become scary in their clarity. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, his desires stop being scattered impulses. They crystallize into absolute clarity. There's no confusion, no hesitation, no vague ambition. He knows exactly what he wants and why he wants it. It's not about greed or obsession. It's about alignment. His desires no longer come from ego or insecurity. They come from truth. And that truth has a gravity to it that unsettles people who are still living on autopilot. This clarity makes him dangerous in the eyes of the ordinary. While most people negotiate with their dreams, he doesn't. He doesn't water down his purpose to make others comfortable or to fit into systems built on compromise. Once he decides on something, it's final, not out of stubbornness, but conviction. To him, diluting his vision feels like self-betrayal. That intensity makes others uneasy because it exposes how indecisive and fragmented they are. His direction is sharp, his energy focused, his words minimal. Every move has intention behind it, and that kind of precision can feel ruthless to those used to mediocrity. He also stops romanticizing potential. He no longer wastes time chasing what doesn't align or trying to fix what drains him. People, jobs, and habits that once filled space in his life get cut away with surgical calmness. To some that looks cold, but to him, it's discipline. He refuses to be distracted by half-hearted pursuits because he understands that clarity without courage is useless. The power of his awakened desire lies in its purity. It's no longer about pleasure or recognition, it's about purpose. He's not moved by trends or social approval, only by what feels authentically his. That kind of certainty is magnetic and terrifying at once, because once a Sigma male reaches this level of awareness, nothing can lure him off his path. He becomes unstoppable not because he's forceful, but because he finally moves without inner conflict, chasing nothing that doesn't already belong to his destiny. Number 12. He sees patterns in human weakness. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, his perception of human behavior becomes unnervingly sharp. He starts noticing patterns that others are too distracted or too afraid to see. The more he observes, the clearer it becomes. Most people don't act from consciousness, but from conditioning. He sees how easily humans trade authenticity for acceptance, how quickly they conform just to avoid standing out, and how effortlessly they deceive themselves to maintain comfort. It's not judgment, it's recognition. The awakening grants him a kind of X-ray vision into the mechanics of human weakness. He begins to detect repetition in everything, how people manipulate without realizing it, how they follow trends like moths to artificial light, how their morality bends conveniently with circumstance. He watches it play out like a script that keeps being recycled with new faces. The same fears, the same need for control, the same illusions of power. It's all a loop. This understanding doesn't make him bitter. It makes him detached. He no longer wastes energy trying to change what people refuse to see. Instead, he studies it, understands it, and moves strategically through it. This clarity gives him an edge. While others get tangled in emotional traps or societal games, he remains outside the web, analyzing the design. He knows how people justify their hypocrisy and how easily they're steered by attention and approval. Once he sees the formula, manipulation loses its grip on him. The noise of persuasion, guilt, and social pressure becomes transparent. It's not that he stops feeling empathy, he just stops being fooled by performance. To those around him, his awareness feels intimidating because he can read motives before they're spoken. But beneath that intensity lies calm understanding. He knows that weakness is part of the human design. He's simply chosen not to be governed by it. The awakened Sigma doesn't exploit these patterns, he transcends them. While the world keeps repeating itself, he evolves beyond it, walking among the programmed with eyes wide open. When a Sigma male awakens spiritually, the shift isn't loud, it's seismic. It doesn't announce itself with rituals or mantras, but through an internal rebellion that changes everything he touches. His awakening dismantles illusions, burns through conditioning, and exposes the raw mechanics of existence. He stops living by inherited definitions of success, love, power, and identity. The man who once walked quietly among the crowd now walks through it, untethered, unshaken, and unapologetically awake. The beauty of his awakening lies in its solitude. No audience, no validation, just a man stripped down to his essence, real, aware, and dangerously free. His mind no longer obeys systems built on fear. His heart no longer negotiates its worth, and his soul no longer plays by the timeline society worships. He sees through the performance of normality and chooses truth, even when it's uncomfortable, isolating, or misunderstood. That choice is what makes him rare. And yet his transformation doesn't end with him. It radiates. People near him evolve or recoil. His presence unsettles falsehood and inspires authenticity. The awakened Sigma becomes both mirror and catalyst, forcing others to confront their own sleepwalking existence. He isn't chasing enlightenment, he embodies it in quiet defiance of everything that tries to domesticate the human spirit. In a world where everyone's fighting to be noticed, he chooses to see. Where others chase validation, he chases understanding. And where most live to please, he lives to be. His awakening is not a destination, it's a continual dismantling of limits. Every day he peels back another layer, grows sharper, lighter, freer. He becomes living proof that when a man dares to face himself fully, he doesn't find perfection, he finds power. If this spoke to your spirit, then it's your sign to stay with us on this journey. Subscribe to the channel, because we're not here for surface-level talk. We're here for truth. Like, comment, and share this video to awaken someone who's ready to see beyond the noise. The Sigma path isn't for everyone, but for those who walk it, there's no turning back.